June 12, 1944. A Norman lane choked in dust and pollen. 2nd Battalion, 67th Armoured Regiment, crawls through a tunnel of green so dense the sky is only rumour. The column halts. Again, a Sherman's horn rasps. A lieutenant vaults to the ground, boots sinking in loam, and stares at what blocks his world. A wall of earth rooted in legend, 12 feet high, 4 deep, older than Charlemagne's edicts. A German MG-42 answers from the far side, its rate of fire 1,200 rounds a minute buzz-sawing the summer air. Somewhere behind that green rampart, an enemy gunner laughs at the iron parade that cannot leave the road. Cut to black. Now rewind the reel 38 days. An ocean away, in a Detroit plant called Fisher Tank Arsenal, a completed M4 Sherman rolls off the line at 1 every 20 minutes. It weighs 33.3 tons, carries a 75mm gun, and is wrapped in armour that ranges from 25mm on the hull sides to 100mm on the gun mantlet. It is the most numerous tank of the war. 49,000 will be built, yet none carry the one tool they will need most in France. The factory gives them speed, 24 miles an hour on roads. It does not give them tusks. Our story is how a kid from New Jersey who once fixed flat tires on Hudson's would, in one July night, weld junk into a sword and, without asking a colonel's permission, rewrite the Battle of Normandy. Long before Caesar's legions, Celtic farmers cut the hedgerows thickets of beech, chestnut, and hawthorn, then Norman monks tended them for 1,000 years. Each generation tossed rocks, roots, and dung against the base. Rain fell, froze, expanded. The banks rose head-high to a man on horseback. By 1944, the network stretches 3,000 miles across the Cotentin, a chessboard of 44,000 enclosed fields, each one reachable only through sunken lanes, so narrow a hay cart brushes both shoulders. U.S. Army maps label the region Bocage. Infantryman Paul Fussell will later call it a conspiracy of geography against the American future. Tanks are city boys here. A Sherman's track spanned 23.5 inches. Its hull is 19 feet long. In the Bocage, it is a whale trapped in alleys. Whenever the turret clears the crest, the belly shows thin, flat, inviting. German doctrine says, wait until the turret top appears, then aim for the sponson line where ammunition racks sleep. 7th Army instructors nickname that spot the Sherman's Smile. Between June 6th and June 25th, 1st U.S. Army loses 243 Shermans in Normandy, more than one a day to mines, 88s, and Panzerfausts fired from 3 meters away. Progress is measured in hedges, not miles. A company commander reports, we advanced 2,000 yards. We took 5 fields. My men now hate trees. The brass convene. Montgomery at Croylay Castle speaks of maintaining pressure. Bradley at Portsmouth frets over stalemate. Patton, still without an army, paces a hotel carpet and growls, fix the tank, fix the war. None present an engineering drawing. Solutions float in rumour, angled bulldozer blades, borrowed Churchill fascines, even explosive hoses. They all need factories, time, or shipping space already booked for gasoline and blood plasma. The answer will not come from a general. It will come from a seminary dropout who likes jazz and can solder a carburetor by candlelight. Curtis Grubb Culin, the third, is 29, born September 28, 1914, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Apprenticed to a Ford dealer at 15, fired for racing a Model T down Main Street, hired again by the Civilian Conservation Corps to keep dump trucks alive in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Drafted March 42. The Army sends him to tank school at Fort Knox, not for heroics but because he can tell a carbide lamp from a catalytic converter. Now a technical sergeant with the 2nd Armoured Division, Hell on Wheels, he lands on Omaha Beach, June 9th, D-Day +3, under fire so thick, his landing craft helmsman is decapitated by a 20mm shell. For the next week, Culin's war is salvage. He pulls drowned jeeps from surf, swaps engines while incoming tide slaps his knees, and notes the metal obstacles the Germans left like iron invitations. They are called Czech hedgehogs, 6-foot assemblies of crossed steel rails, designed to rip the belly of landing craft. Rommel ordered 2 million built, 15,000-litre Utah and Omaha alone. Each weighs 450 pounds. They are ugly, redundant, and crucially made of high-carbon structural steel that can be cut, bent, and welded. To Culin, they are not junk. They are prefabricated parts. Night, July 14th. Saint Jean de Day, a cider press village smelling of apple must and cordite. Culin shares a barn with 3 other mechanics. Oil lamps flicker. Someone strays a guitar. Someone else uncorks local calvados that tastes like burnt pennies. Talk turns to the hedges. A driver named Jimmy Moon describes watching 3 Shermans stall, noses skyward, like dogs begging. Culin sketches on a K ration box. A pronged jaw bolted to the transmission housing. Teeth angled to bite into the bank, lift, and hack a gap. He labels it a Rhino bumper because, he jokes, it makes the tank charge like a mad animal. Morning comes. The drawing is soggy with dew and apple brandy, but the idea is sober. July 15th. Orchard outside Colombières. The division maintenance company commandeers a captured German welding rig powered by a jury-rigged Opel engine. Arcs sputter blue. Sparks fall on parachute silk, left from a resupply drop, and smoulder like tiny suns. Culin's crew cuts Czech hedgehogs with oxyacetylene torches burning at 6,000 degrees. They need 12 feet of rail for each tusk, 4 tanks done by dusk. Tests follow. A Sherman dubbed Kansas Cyclone rams a hedge at 15 miles an hour. Steel teeth sink, woody veins crack, the tank lurches, crests, and drops into the next field like a whale breaching. The gap is wide enough for a follow-up half-track. Crew grin through soot masks. Word spreads faster than grease on a hot bearing. Lieutenant Colonel James Leroy, nicknamed Jumping Jim, for his pace drives out from division headquarters. He watches one demonstration, utters the Army's shortest commendation. Do more. By midnight, 34 more tanks queue in the orchard. Civilian farm tractors drag hedgehogs from mine-clearing details. Chaplain's assistants haul scrap for welding rods. A cook who once worked Brooklyn shipyards volunteers as fitter. No requisition forms are filed. The entire program runs on signatures shouted over generator roar. By dawn, July 16th, 49 Shermans wear rhino tusks. Each set weighs 600 pounds, costs nothing but torch gas, and can be mounted with 4 hours' labour by 2 mechanics and a cherry picker improvised from a signal pole. The modification does not alter the tank's centre of gravity enough to void Ford's warranty, yet it gifts the Sherman a climbing ability of 38 degrees better than the original 32. Bradley hears of it by accident. His Jeep driver gets lost, rounds a corner, and confronts a line of metal beasts that look like prehistoric nightmares. Bradley exits, circles a tusk, runs a thumb along a weld bead still warm. He asks, "Who in God's name authorized this?" Culin, greased to his elbows, snaps to a salute that leaves a handprint on his trousers. Bradley returns the salute, adding, "Carry on, son, and make it 500. July 25th, Operation Cobra. Saint-Lô, or what is left of it, steeples truncated, streets powdered white by 3,000 tons of blockbuster bombs. At 0630 hours, the sky still drips plaster dust when the 1st Infantry, Big Red One, opens the gate. Behind them, Rhino tanks of the 3rd Armoured fan out, not along the road but straight through the hedgerow chessboard. Where once a battalion needed 3 hours to pierce one field, they now breach one every 6 minutes. The sound is unforgettable. A metallic grunt, a crack like a redwood spine snapping, then the low thunder of engines slipping into high gear. Technical details. The tusk assembly consists of 4 prongs welded from T-section railroad stock, each 3 inches tall, set at a 30-degree forward angle and braced by diagonal gussets to the final drive housings. On impact, the lower tines wedge under the hedge roots, acting as a lever. The tank's forward momentum torque, peaking at 26,000 foot-pounds at 1,600 RPM, translates into a vertical shearing vector that snaps trunks up to 8 inches thick. The upper prongs, meanwhile, rake the berm, clearing a path 8 feet wide, sufficient for a following M10 tank destroyer, whose hull is 1 foot wider than the Sherman itself. Welds are performed with E6130 low-hydrogen rod to prevent cold cracking under shock loads. Field reports show no tusk failures in the first 200 breaches, though paint blisters from friction heat topping 300 Celsius. Tactical outcome. On the first day of Cobra, Rhino-equipped units advance 7 miles in 10 hours, a speed jump from the previous 2 miles daily. German defenders, accustomed to predictable lane-bound attacks, find their flanks turned before mortars can be relayed. An officer of the Panzer Lehr division writes, "The Americans have grown horns. The hedges themselves have betrayed us." August 1st. Avranches. Tusks now decorate 962 Shermans across 3 corps. They spearhead a drive so fluid that gasoline trucks cannot keep pace. When Patton finally receives Third Army command, he tours the line, pats a tusk, and jokes, "With teeth like these, we'll bite through to the Siegfried line by Christmas." Logisticians calculate that the modification saves an estimated 9,000 gallons of fuel per division per week. No longer do tanks idle, reverse, ram, and repeat. More importantly, it saves flesh. Casualty rates among Rhino crews drop 23% compared to non-modified units in the first week of August. The math is brutal and simple. A moving tank is harder to hit than a stranded one. No invention goes unanswered. Field Marshal von Klug orders increased mining of hedge bases and the use of telemines tilted forward at 45 degrees to blow the lower hull as tusks lift the nose. Some German units stack concrete blocks behind hedges, calculating that a Rhino will high center, exposing the belly. Yet the Allies adapt again. Engineers fit quick-release hooks so tusks can be jettisoned if the tank becomes a seesaw. Others weld lengths of salvaged beech matting to the underside, creating a skid plate that defeats tilt-rod mines. Thus the arms race rolls on, one hedge at a time. Not all stories end in glory. Private First Class Robert L. Scott, assistant driver on a Rhino Sherman named Hedge Hopper, recounts breaching a line outside Percy. "We punched through, felt the hull drop, heard the sweetest soundtrack pins holding. Then an 88 in the next lane punched straight through the sponson. The tusk didn't fail, luck did. The round missed the ammo, killed our loader. We carried his body back through the very hole we made." That night we welded his name on the tusk. "This one's for Smitty." The metal remembers. Paris, liberated, August 25th. Columns of Rhino tanks parade down the Champs-Élysées. Crowds cheer, throw flowers that impale on tusks like offerings to mechanical gods. Photographer Robert Capa climbs a lamppost, captures a shot that will grace Life magazine with the caption, "They came with steel horns and left the laurels of victory behind." By September, the front outruns the hedgerows. Open country favors speed, and engineers remove tusks to save weight and reduce road vibration. Scrap piles grow outside Reims and Verdun. Some are melted into bridge girders. Others become French vineyard posts, still bearing faint serial numbers. Culin himself ships home in December, Purple Heart for shrapnel in his shoulder, Bronze Star for mechanical brilliance contributing to operational breakout. He will work 30 years for International Harvester, retire to Florida, and every July 14th toast the orchard welders with a glass of Calvados that still tastes like burnt pennies. Numbers, cold but eloquent. 2,437 individual Sherman tanks receive the Rhino modification between July and August 1944. Average fabrication time, 3 hours 50 minutes per vehicle. Material cost per tank, $0, 0 cents paid for by enemy scrap. Fuel savings, enough to move an additional infantry division from Utah Beach to the Moselle. Lives saved, incalculable, but unit diaries record at least 300 fewer KIA in armored battalions during Cobra's first phase than estimated by pre-battle attrition tables. History remembers strategists who shift divisions on maps the size of ballroom floors. It forgets the smell of acetylene and apples, the hush when a torch flame kisses steel, the moment when a mechanic's idea becomes a soldier's tomorrow. Yet wars are won by such forgotten minutes. The Rhino tusk was not patented, not classified, not even officially standardized. It was, in the purest sense, open-source warfare, an idea passed from welder to welder like folk music. No corporation profited, no senator campaigned. It was the democracy of the workshop, where rank dissolves in sparks.